I'm Sarah Churchill, the Digital Services Specialist with the library. And I'm here today to talk about online resources for job seekers. So what are online resources? Anything you use through the internet is an online resource. Also, the terms online resources and databases are used interchangeably to mean any online source. Some examples of online resources would be your email, search engines like Google and Bing, social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, company websites, and paid subscription services like Netflix and Hulu. What are paid online resources? Any internet resource that requires payment in order to use it. Who pays for the library's paid resources? The library and the state of Ohio. All library resources are free for library card holders. You do not pay anything. Examples of some of our paid resources would be Overdrive for ebooks. Hoopla is a streaming service. We have educational courses available in Universal Class, and we have many informational online databases, with Business Insights Global being just one of them. The requirements to use our paid resources: you need to have one of our library cards. You'll need to create a library card PIN, also called a library password, an email address, and you need to log in through the library's website. If you Google these resources and click on the link through Google, it'll open, but then it's going to tell you that, if you want to use this, give us a credit card, and we're going to charge you so much per month, year, or per course in order for you to use it. If you go through a library's website, it's completely free. With these paid resources, you'll be able to create free personal accounts within them. And the reason you have those free accounts is because, you're going to have ebooks and other things to check out, and they'll store there what you've checked out, so you'll be able to read the ebook, listen to an audiobook, or watch a movie. They'll store how you scored on practice tests, so you'll be able to see if you can improve your score when you take the test again. With an online course, you're usually not going to finish it in one sitting, so they're going to bookmark where you leave off when you log off to eat a meal or to go to bed. The next time you log in, whether it's the next day or months later, you'll be able to start up right where you left off instead of going back to the beginning of the course. And many of them will allow you to save searches. The information that you'll provide for your personal account is just your name, your email address, your library card number, and a password that you'll create for that library resource. And before we move on, a word about email addresses and job searching. Take a look at your email address and make certain that there's nothing off-putting in it that an employer might decide that they wouldn't want to hire you because of how your email address is set up. I've got some fake examples here, but they actually are based on similar ones that I actually received at the library. Any reference to drugs in an email address, an employer is going to think that they need to constantly drug test you. If you have a reference to pornography, they're going to think that, you're on the computer. Are you on the right website? And you do not want references to violence in your email address. An employer is going to look at that and think, if I hire this person, is this going to be a case of future workplace violence? Or someone that has a problem with anger management? So employers would have issues with these and with others. So make certain that you have an email address that won't cause problems. And really, you might want to just consider getting a new email address that you only use for your job searching based on your name. It makes it handy to have one that's separate from the one you use with friends and family, because then it's easier to keep track of replies that you'll receive from your job applications, so you don't miss out on that opportunity for an interview or for being hired from sending in a successful job application. And you can have as many free email accounts out there as you want. You can have multiple ones with Google, with Yahoo, with Outlook, with Mail.com. They don't care how many accounts you have set up with them. They don't keep track, so you can have multiple ones with each of those services. When it comes to the passwords that you use for your library's paid resources, you can keep it simple, but you do want to make it unique to you. That way you'll remember it. And I recommend using the same password for all the library's resources. You don't have to make it complicated, and you can use it over and over again, because if anybody does guess that password, they're not going to be able to find anything in there to steal your identity or your money. There's no access to credit card information, bank account information, or social security information. The most they're going to discover is that maybe you're looking at an ebook on how to write resumes, or maybe you're taking a refresher course in forgotten algebra. Because I know that when I was in school, they told me that, oh, you'll remember all this math because you'll use it after you graduate. Well, I got a job that didn't make me use all those algebra skills. So, no, I do not remember all my algebra. If I ever have to use something from algebra, I'm going to have to take a refresher course in algebra. And with your passwords, for the length of them, make it 8 characters long. The reason it has that character limit is because if you go too short, some resources won't work. It'll be too short a password. If you go much over 8 characters, there is a max limit on some resources where it won't work if your password's too long. 8 characters will work with every single library resource. Also, you want to get into the habit of making it be a mix of letters and numbers, because once you start applying for jobs online, every online application makes you create a password, and under the list of requirements for that password, it will tell you that it has to be at minimum 8 characters long and has to be a mix of letters and numbers, usually has to include a mix of upper and lowercase letters, and often has to include symbols. So where do you find the library's online resources? Well, for job seekers, we have everything grouped together. You'll be going to our library's website, scrolling to learn, then scroll to the Career Center part, and clicking on Career Resources. So here we are on the library's website. Like I said, I'm going to learn, over to the Career Center part, and clicking on Career Resources. On the Career Resources page, we have many resources. We've tried to put everything together here, organized into categories to help all job seekers. Many resources on here are completely free, and the ones that are completely free internet ones have website listed after their name. The resources I'm going to be showing you today are the paid ones, and the ones that are paid will either have the name of the company that provides that resource after its name, or if that name of the company and the name of the resource are the same, there'll be nothing. And drivingtest.org is the first one we'll look at, and because it is the same name for both, that's why there was nothing after its name. So with drivingtest.org, here you can take practice written tests in order to get your driver's license, your motorcycle license, or the CDL, the commercial driver's license. And you'll find that there's many jobs out there that do require a commercial driver's license. If you end up driving a company vehicle for your job, you might have to get a commercial driver's license. And not only does it have the practice written tests, it also has the full handbooks to read to study for those practice tests for your regular license, motorcycle, and the CDL. And it has all these tests and handbooks in both English and Spanish. Now, because this resource does not allow you to create a free account within it, when you leave the resource, if you've done any of the practice tests, it's going to erase your score. You'll have to write down what you did on the test in order to be able to keep track of it the next time you go to this web page. So we'll click out of that one. And the first account we're going to, a resource that allows you to create a free account, is Hoopla. And you'll start to notice a theme with these ones where I can log in with an account that I've created within the resource. Almost all of them use your email address as your sign-in. So here we are at Hoopla. Hoopla is our streaming resource. This resource has audiobooks, movies, music, comics, ebooks, and television shows within it. It's an all-age resource with not only recreational entertainment for all ages, but also educational things for all ages. And for job seekers, it's kind of handy to use the search box to look for what you're looking for. So I can put in resumes, and I'll find lots of ebooks to help me with how to write a great resume. Or I could put in job search and find lots of ebooks about how to conduct a successful job search. Also, I can do something more specific, like a job on welding. And we'll find Lots of ebooks about welding. So there's whole textbooks. There's one that's even an audiobook about your ultimate guide to weld and cut metal. But they also have the ebook versions that you'd read for welding basics and welding complete. And there's more. You can see it has actually 54 results. And because it is a keyword search, sometimes what comes up in the results is not necessarily what you're expecting. This one's a music album that has the word welding mentioned within it. And some of these, like the careers in welding and possibly this learn to weld, might actually be more children's based. So because, like I said, it's an all age resource. Also, a popular job out there for lots to go to is the STNA. And if you type in nursing, you'll find lots of nursing resources within here. So they could be useful for those, especially if you become a nursing assistant and you really enjoy it and want to go further in the field to become a practical nurse or a registered nurse. Some of these textbooks and study guides for the testing that a nurse has to go to pass would be very useful to you. And everything in Hoopla is unlimited instantaneous access. So 1 million people can want to check out the same audiobook, the same movie, the same ebook, television show, what have you. They'll all get it at the same time. Items do check out for varying time limits in Hoopla, though. So you get the audiobooks, ebooks, and comics for 21 days. Music checks out for 7 days. Movies and television shows you get for 3 days. And you can check out up to 25 items per month. At the end of the month, when the next month starts up, you can check out another 25 items. A handy thing about a digital resource like this, when things are due back, they return automatically. You cannot keep them overdue, so you never have to worry about overdue fines or lost or damaged materials because you can't lose or damage a digital item. Plus, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, there's a free app that you can download to install on your device. And then when you check out items from Hoopla, you can download them to the app. And if you're somewhere where you don't have access to the internet, you'll still be able to listen to that audiobook, read that ebook, or watch that movie or television show. In order to leave Hoopla, all we do is we click the little spoke symbol and we click log out. The next resource we're going to is our first overall educational resource, and that's Learning Express Library. And as you can see, again, the sign-in is an email address. With Learning Express Library, every time that you log in, it opens up at your My Center page. So you'll see that there's practice tests, and if you take them, it'll keep track of what your scores were. It calls the courses in here tutorials. And so, like I said, usually when you take a course online, you're not going to finish it in one sitting. And so right here in your My Center page, the next time you log in, you would just click on the name of that course and be able to start up with where you left off. This resource does also include ebooks. And when you check them out in this resource, unlike Hoopla, they never have to be returned. You can keep them in your account for forever, years if you want. When you do decide that you're done looking at that ebook, you would click the little trash can symbol to delete it from your account, and that's all it does delete from is your account. It doesn't delete from Learning Express Library itself. This resource is built into multiple centers. The first one we're going to is the career preparation. And we're going to learn more about a career. And in this section, it has just a small selection of careers to choose from to learn about. But for the nursing field, that can be handy because it does have become a nurse. For all job seekers, it has changing careers. And for those that are in the military, going into a civilian life, they have transitioning military careers, which would be very handy. But depending on what you're interested in, you might find something useful if you're really interested in doing a cooking career or going into law enforcement or other health careers and things. So the next part of Career Preparation Center is the job search and workplace skills. And here they have a whole course you can take for how to change careers. They have a course on how to conduct a successful job search, also one on how to create great resumes and cover letters. There's one for interviewing with confidence, which I must admit, when I was in school, it would have been nice to have had a practice interview course to take. And they've just recently added in one about how to accept a job and negotiate your salary. You'll notice over time with all of our library's paid resources that things will change because they're constantly updating. And a final one that they have in this part is how to learn important social networking skills. And a word about social networks or social media. If you have a Facebook page, Instagram, or Twitter account out there, before you start job searching, you'll want to make certain that you look at those pages and there's nothing on them that if an employer sees it, they will decide not to hire you. I remember national news stories from many years ago. There was a girl that had gone through all of her schooling, had done everything to become a teacher. She applied to the state teachers board for her license. The licensing board looked at her Facebook page, saw a picture of her at a college party drinking, and denied her teacher's license because there was a morality code in that state where you had to set a good example for your students and not break any laws. And underage drinking, breaking the law, that was against the morality code. She couldn't be a teacher in that state, and because that's pretty much a universal thing for teachers, couldn't really be a teacher in any state. She had to come up with a whole new plan for her career. They also have a part here about your business workplace skills, and there's this course on how to strengthen your business writing skills. And you might be thinking that the job you're going for shouldn't involve being in business writing because you're not going to work inside a business as a secretary or anything. But I know that with any job that you do nowadays, your communication with your supervisors and your coworkers is now done through email, and that is business writing. So you need to make certain that you do good emails on how you set them up and send them out, and be careful about what information you put in there. I work with many workplace organizations in Mahoning County that help job seekers, and one of them told me that she had a coworker that once sent out an email in all caps, which is shouting in the online world, and she got sent to human resources and had to take a course on how to do proper emailing. That person also told me about how if you send out an email that's all lowercase, not using proper punctuation and grammar, then you're just being disrespectful to the person that you're sending it to, and that can get you in trouble. And you don't want to share jokes in an email because something that you find funny, somebody else may find very offensive, and that could get you sent to human resources to take a course in proper emailing, or you might even get fired. Also, they have a whole course here for how to succeed on the job, which is great. So once you're hired, how you keep that job. The last part of the Career and Preparation Center is it has a whole series of practice tests that you can take. There's a lot of jobs out there that require you to pass a test in order to be hired. One of them would be the postal worker, which is very popular, and they have that under the civil service exams. They also have just the general civil service exams to take. Learning Express Library does also the practice written test again for that commercial driver's license, and because you do create an account within this resource, it'll keep track of how you scored on the test. Plus, it has the practice test to pass for electrician or plumbing. For nursing, that STNA field that's so popular right now with lots of openings, well, this one has the practice test to take that you have to pass in order to become a nursing assistant, because there is a test you take. Admittedly, I'm not saying that you take the practice test and you'll get certified. Instead, this is where you take the practice test in order to prepare for the real test. And the neat function about the way they offer the tests in Learning Express Library is that there's 3 test modes to choose from. So you can try the learner mode, where you can take as much time as you want with answering all the questions, and as you answer each one, it will tell you whether you got the answer correct or not. The practice mode, for a test that's timed, the timer will run, and when the test timer runs out, you can still complete the whole test. So you'll be able to see, can I complete the test in the amount of time required? And at the end, it will give you what all the answers were. And they have the stimulation mode. where when the test is timed, when the timer runs out, the test stops, whether or not you've reached the end of that test. This can be really handy for those with test anxiety, like me, because you can work your way up through the different test modes and can keep improving your speed at answering all the questions and getting them right, so that when you take the test in the real world, you don't freeze up when they tell you that, okay, it's time to start the test. So you can see they have lots of tests to choose from, including real estate licensing test and teaching tests. Also, if you go on to work with Ohio Means Jobs, some of the employers with Ohio Means Jobs require you to do the WorkKeys test. I don't know which employers and for which jobs, but the handy thing is that in this resource, it has the practice test. So if you had to take the real WorkKeys, you can hopefully get a good score. From career preparation, we'll move on to Job and Career Accelerator. So a Job and Career Accelerator, when it opens up here, you have a place where you can build resumes and cover letters, but they also have this nice part where you can find a career match. Here you can take a skills matcher test or an interest matcher test, and it's just going to ask you questions about your skills or interests, and at the end of the test, it'll tell you which jobs best fit your skills or interests. Also in this center, you can explore occupations. So you can explore all types of occupation groups, or for those transitioning the military to civilian occupations. And for all job seekers, a great one to look at would be the in-demand occupations. That would be where there's lots of job openings. Also in this center, you can actually search for jobs and internships. And they actually have a whole course that they've created now for how to do that searching for jobs, finding your next job. When it comes to actually searching within this job center, it uses the Indeed job board. And if I launch this career tool, it'll open up here in a moment. And you can search by company name, by a skill, or by a job title. I'm just going to go ahead and put in manufacturing. That's along with SG&As. Manufacturing seems to always have lots of openings. Put that in there. And when what it searches is it's going to see if it finds any job ads on Indeed that mention the word manufacturing anywhere in the job ad. We've got 230 results here. The nice thing about this center search is that it tells you how long ago the job was posted on the Indeed job board. And it's handy to pay attention to that, because if it was posted a long time ago, so if we scroll down here, we've got 5 days, 30 plus. Here's one that was posted 6 months ago or more, and we have a 30 plus days ago. Those you have to check to see if really there might not be hiring anyone. They may have actually already hired someone, and they just forgot to take the job ad off of the Indeed job board. Whereas if it's only been a few days ago, most likely that job definitely is still available and they're still accepting applications. So it's very good to keep track of the time limit. And any job that you're interested that comes up in these searches, if you click on the job title, it will open up in a new tab on the Indeed job board, and there would be the apply button that would take you to the official job application website. I can just click the little X to close out from this one. And I would be back at the library's Indeed job board website so that I could look up for another one of the job titles that came up. So I'll click back from there. And from the job search part, we'll go down to preparing for an interview. So here they have not only, again, that course on how to interview with confidence that we saw earlier in the Career Preparation Center as well, but they also have a whole section of ebooks that you would use with interviews. So they have an ebook about follow-up sample letters, thank you sample letters from an interview, and networking and informational sample letters. And they've just added in this ebook on job offer and resignation letters, which can be very handy. I admit that I'd never seen how to accept a job. I just made a guess on accepting a job. But here you'd be able to see what should a letter look like that you want to send in to accept your job. Or if you've been hired by multiple companies and you can only choose one, it's handy to have the proper way to decline a job offer so that if in the future you want to work for that company, they won't have any bad taste in their mouth from how you declined a previous job offer from them. The last part we're going to look at in this center is the Career eBooks Library. For all job seekers, it's got some great ebooks here. There's 100 Conversations for Career Success, Social Networking for Business Success, because social networking is a big part of looking for jobs nowadays. And they have Social Networking for Career Success as well. Plus, they have the Career Changers Manual. And again, for those going into nursing, they have Becoming a Nurse. From this center, we're going to the High School Equivalency Center. And for those who are curious, the High School Equivalency Center is called that now because one company, Pearson VUE, purchased the rights to the acronym for the GED. So only that company offers the GED test instead of a GED diploma. And when you do complete your test, whether it's a GED or one of the others, what you receive is a high school equivalency diploma now. The first part of it has this Are You Ready section where you can take some skills checks to see if your skills are all set for going on towards actually taking the test to get your high school equivalency diploma. And depending on how you do on the skills check, you could see which skills you need to work on improving and go on building those basic skills here in this part. After that is where you'll choose which test you're specifically going to study for. There's 3 tests that you can use in the state of Ohio to get your high school equivalency diploma: the GED, the HiSET, or the TASC test. All 3 cover the same subject knowledge. The only difference between the 3 tests comes to how the test is offered for you to take it and how much it costs to take it. The GED test is done completely on computer and is the most expensive. The HiSET and the TASC tests both give you the options where you can do parts or the entire test on paper or on computer. So you could choose that maybe you want to do the math section on paper, the English writing part on computer, or vice versa, or you could do the entire test on paper or the entire test on computer. It's your choice. Also, they are much less expensive than the GED. If you work with the Department of Education, they offer an educational voucher that gives you a discount on taking the high school equivalency test the first time you try it. And with that voucher, it makes the HiSET and the TASC test around $15, whereas the GED test is still much more than that. So for the High School Equivalency Center, we're going to skim past a few things here. There is a college admissions test prep, so if you would decide to go on to college, they do have the study guides and practice tests for taking the ACT, the SAT, taking AP exams. They also have a course on how to write a college admissions essay. If you have young children or nieces and nephews, they have a school center where there's courses to take at elementary, middle, and high school level. For those in college, there's courses that they can take that will help them with their math, reading, grammar, science, and also the study guides to prepare for the graduate school admission if they were going to go on to that. The next one we're going to actually go to is the adult core skills. And if you'll remember, I mentioned how possibly you might need to take a algebra refresher course. Well, in this adult core skills is where you can actually find a basic algebra one that you can take. So along with basic courses to help you with regular math, the decimals, fractions, percents, whole numbers, everything is right in here for any kind of math that you might need to refresh yourself on. They also have a section to help you improve your reading skills. and to work on your writing and grammar and speaking in public. Plus, the center has a part for becoming a U.S. citizen. So if you don't have your citizenship, or you know someone who doesn't have it, you can recommend that they can come to Learning Express Library, and they'll find the study material and practice tests for getting their U.S. citizenship in both English and Spanish. The last part we're going to go to is the Computer Skills Center, and this center is different from the others. The other centers that we went to, if you take a course, it's going to have material for you to read on the screen. It's going to have little practice assignments and may have some quizzes within them. And when you complete a course, you'll get a certificate. With the Computer Skills Center, they're completely video-based. So with these, if you're a good visual learner, you're going to have a whole series of videos to watch. And if you watch all the videos, you will get a certificate. But they don't have anything for you to read. There's no practice assignments to do and no quizzes. So they have a whole set to work on your computer basics, the internet basics, and also popular software tools. So we've noticed that 99% of the job ads, it seems, require Excel skills out there. For some of them, we can't quite figure out why they would need it, but for a lot of jobs, yeah, it makes sense. Anyone going into manufacturing, you're probably going to be working with inventories, which is a spreadsheet program. Anyone going into the medical field, you're going to have patient data that has to be input into a spreadsheet. And again, that's Excel. Excel is a spreadsheet program. Now you'll see here that the Microsoft Excel Basic course here, that's the most recent one they have, is for 2016. And if you're going to use this resource to learn Excel, I would recommend going for the 2016 version. Currently, the computers in the library have Excel 2019, but 2016 would be close enough that you should be able to use it to learn Excel. You'll see that the total course time is 4 hours, 26 minutes, and 18 seconds long. If we click Start Tutorial, here you'll see that, yes, it's a video that starts with a play. This table of contents shows you that it's not just one video. It's actually a whole series of videos that you watch that in total, when you watch all of them, will total out to that 4 hours, 26 minutes, and 18 seconds. So there's a lot of videos to watch. And this is kind of a handy thing to keep in mind for how long a full course in learning something basic on a computer does take. Because you'll notice in the library, we've often offered small 1 hour courses, either one-on-one or as small group classes at the library. But with librarians, we aren't computer instructors. We're not certified as Microsoft instructors or anything. We're just teaching what we can fit into 1 hour time slots. It's not a full course. If you need something that's going to cover everything completely and fully, you'll need to use one of our online resources, like the classes here in Learning Express Library, in order to be able to add it as a skill on your resume. So that's the last part here of the Learning Express Library. We're going to log out. And from here, we're going to move to our next overall educational resource, which is Universal Class. Universal Class always opens up with this cookie part. You just click Got It, and then we'll sign in. And again, I can sign in with my email address. This one actually gives you the option of using a username or email. And once I sign in here, click the Never part there, I can go to the course catalog, and there's over 500 online courses to choose from. In Universal Class, what's really handy to keep in mind is that every single course in Universal Class is fully accredited by an International Continuing Education Association. These courses are set up so they have a whole variety of material within them to do in order to get the certificates that they give out. So if I can type in resume, and we'll see there's a resume course. It's 9 0.9 CEUs for continuing education units. I can also type in Excel. And like Learning Express Library, it has a variety of Excel courses to choose from, and it actually has the 2019 Excel as both basic and advanced. And when I pull it up here, you'll see that it's got 15 lessons. There's going to be 27 assignments and exams to take. And on average, it takes 12 hours, which translates to 1.2 CEUs, continuing education units. With the classes in Universal Class, you're going to have a lot of material to read on the screen. They may have small videos to watch, but they are also going to have homework assignments that you have to do, and you submit them. Plus, they'll have quizzes and tests that you'll have to submit, and they'll be checking to see if you retained the information that was taught in the lessons. And when you submit those homework assignments and those tests, you don't get a grade immediately. It's not a computer that's going to be grading those. Instead, it's actually a real person that grades them. It's the online instructor that created that course that's going to get notified that, oh, there's a student that has submitted a homework assignment or submitted a test, and they're going to have to grade the assignment or the test, and then they'll send you back what the result was on how you did, whether you did it really well on your assignment and whether you passed your test. So you're going to have a wait of anywhere from 24 hours to 48 hours before you find out how you did on your homework assignments and your tests. If you successfully pass them all, then you will get a certificate, and it will store your certificates in your account under the certificates and CEUs. You can see I have one here. If I click on it here, you can see that it's a nice kind of professional looking certificate here. It will have your name. This one has library instructor because I set up this training account with library as my first name and instructor as my last name. And there is an actual course you can take on how to take an online course at Universal Class, which was about 2 hours long in order to complete it. With the certificates, you can download them to print or to attach to an email to send to someone if you needed to. And it stores the certificates for 7 years. The reason that there's a time limit in Universal Class for how long it keeps a certificate is because, like I said, they're all fully accredited courses in this resource. And after 7 years, the course material will have changed because of new information coming out, new things happening with software. Like as you notice, Excel has gone from 2016 to 2019 now. So that's a whole new course to take. So the material will change, so you'll need to redo the course in order to get an updated certificate that will again save for 7 years. And Universal Class, just like with Learning Express Library and Hoopla, every course in here is instantaneous, unlimited access. So 1 million people can want to take the same course. They can all do it at the same time. And you can see with the course catalog that not only can you keyword search to find things, but you can browse for courses. There's a lot of things under alternative medicine and health medicine for those interested in health careers. And a handy thing that we have been told is that if you have a job that requires you to do continuing education in order to keep your license for that job, you can check with your supervisor or licensing board to see if a course that you want to take in Universal Class will count for that continuing education requirement. And if it does, then that means you can save some money because you can use your library card and take the course for free instead of having to go elsewhere where you might have to pay for a course. We can't guarantee that what you pick in Universal Class will count for your continuing education requirement because Universal Class has courses on all sorts of things, not just medical, computer, career training. It has a lot of things under personal development and things that might not qualify for the type of job that you are going for. So if you're in the health field, taking a job on drawing or a course on drawing or painting or calligraphy may not necessarily count for that continuing education. When you're finished with Universal Class for the day, to log out, you just click on the power symbol and you're logged off. We have 2 other educational resources available for job seekers here. We have Mango Languages And we have Transparent Language Online. With Transparent Language Online, when you're outside the library, you do have to sign in first with putting in your library card and choosing what library you're from. And once this part comes up, then you still have to sign in now with your personal account. This one uses a username. Depending on your email address, you might be able to use your email, the first part of your email address as your username. Mine, because it had dots in it, it wouldn't accept it, so I had to create a different username that didn't have any periods within the name. Mango Languages is back to using an email address to sign into it. So Mango Languages, our library has had for years. It's a great resource that many of our library users have enjoyed using. It has a fun recreational language to choose from of pirate language, but it does also have the very popular language for job seekers to learn, which is this Latin American Spanish. Plus, you can learn an English course if maybe Spanish is your primary language and you need to learn English, or you're from another country that's just come here, and it will teach English in these different mother languages to make it easier for you to learn English. Mango has over 72 languages to choose from. With Transparent Language Online, the state pays for this resource. They've provided it for the past couple years now. And if we go to more languages here, they have over 102 languages within this resource to choose from. Again, they do have the Latin American Spanish, and they also have English for people that need to learn it as a second language. And again, it will teach that, sorry about that. It will teach English in your native language. It has quite a few of the different native languages to choose from. It actually has more than Mango has. The handy thing about the English courses too in Transparent Language Online is that any of the English courses, whether it's the English immersion version or the one where it's teaching it in a native language, when you go to browse, it has a full American citizenship course to take. So again, if you need American citizenship or you know someone who needs it, this is another resource where they'll find the material to study and learn in order to pass their test for American citizenship. The reason that we have both resources for learning languages is because it's just like we have multiple ones for the regular educational courses. Everyone's got a different learning style. So for some people, Learning Express Library is going to fit you better than the courses in Universal Class. For others, Universal Class fits you better because you work better with having something that makes you do assignments and take tests. With languages, while Mango Languages and Transparent Languages are taught similarly, if you try learning Spanish in each of them, you may find that the way the lessons are set up in Mango fits you better, or maybe the way the lessons are set up in Transparent Language Online will fit you better. The only way to do it is to take them and try them out. And since they're completely free, it's no worries. So you're not having to worry about spending any money. You can take your time, if you have it, to take lessons in each one and see which is the better fit for your learning style. So that's the last of our educational resources. From here, we're going to move on to this career and occupational vocational information section and take a quick look at Gale eBooks. We'll get logged in here. Whenever you're outside the library, it does make you type in your card number. And with Gale eBooks, this resource is unique in that it's giving you access to reference books that we've had at the main library. And with reference books, those were books that we had that you had to come to the library, look at in library. You were never able to check them out and take them home with you. Whereas with Gale eBooks, if you have access to the internet from your house or from anywhere in the world, with your library card, you have access to these books. For many job seekers, you may decide that you're tired of working for someone else and decide that you want to become an entrepreneur and be your own boss and run your own business. And in the business part of Gale eBooks, we have quite a few resources that will help entrepreneurs be successful on starting and running a business. And it's a growing resource that keeps adding in more and more titles. One of the handiest ones would be those starting out of using the Business Plans Handbook, because you do have to create a business plan in order to get started. And this has all 40 volumes of the Business Plans Handbook within it. And you can do a search within the series for the type of business plan you're interested in. So maybe you want to start a business as a florist. We could type that in here, and you'll see that it comes up that there's a business plan for being a florist that was just done in volume 40 of the series, and also one in volume 1. If I click on the title of the business plan, it opens up right to where it would be in that volume 40, and it's the entire business plan. If I click on the Gale ebook symbol there, I'll be back at their main screen. And for those going into the medical field, like the STNAs, there are also a great set of medical reference books available in this resource that can be useful to you on alternative medicine, diets, fitness, medicine in general, nursing and allied health, medical and surgical tests, and the Encyclopedia of Drugs and Addictive Substances that can be something that you might need to look at. You can see there's a whole bunch of different other subject areas that we have reference books grouped under depending on what you're looking for. And everything in Gale eBooks is, again, instantaneous, unlimited access. You just have to have a computer or a mobile device and the internet, and you'll be able to get into this resource using your library card. It doesn't have you create an account, so we'll just click the X to close it out. And we're going to move down to the job searching part. And I'm going to show you 2 resources here that are great for job searching. The first one we're looking at is Business Insights Global. And what's handy here is going to the advanced search and looking for a company's history. The example I like to use is Marshall's. And the reason I like to use Marshall's is because when you go to Marshall's company website, it has no company history. But I can come here, put it as a company name search of Marshall's name with the content type of company histories, click search, and this Marshall's Incorporated, if I would print this out, it gives me a 4 to 5 page long company history. Much more information than I can get anywhere else because, like I said, they have no company history on their company website. Instead, all they have on the website is buying the different things that Marshall sells online. And for a lot of companies, when they do have a company history, they have their company history summarized down to 1 to 2 paragraphs. Whereas using this resource, you get a lot more material that will help you with writing a cover letter or preparing for a job interview. And doing company research is really important because when you do a cover letter that shows that you've researched the company, it puts you ahead of other job seekers. And it's always handy to show in a job interview that you have researched the company. Another great one for researching a company is Reference USA. With this resource, whenever you're outside the library, it is extremely important to scroll down and click that you accept the above terms and conditions, and then click continue. And from there, we put in the library card number. And here we are in Reference USA. So again, I can search for a company in here, and we'll stick with the same example of Marshall's. in the city of Youngstown and Ohio. And the first thing that's going to come up is the local Marshalls that's down in Boardman. In this entry, I'm going to see the full address and, again, the website for Marshalls Online. If they had any openings at the local franchise of Marshalls that were posted on Indeed's job board, they would show up here. The industry profile is always kind of handy for seeing what kind of store or business you're looking at. What's really good to look for is the business profile. Now, with any business where it's a nationwide franchise with millions of local stores, they usually do not fill in the business profile. However, the headquarter company that owns all of the franchises usually will fill in that business profile. As you scroll down to the bottom, a handy thing that does do for every company is it has a competitors report. And so that could give you something that helps you with your cover letter or a job interview, because you can say that you want to work for this company because you think they're so much better than their competitors of like Burlington, Penny's, Kohl's, Macy's, or Target. But you have to be careful about what's in the competitors report. For years, Reference USA had TJ Maxx listed as a competitor of Marshalls. If we go up to the top and click back, I can click on this arrow here for the corporate tree and go all the way up to the corporate headquarters. Click on the name of the corporate headquarters company here. And here, like I said, it's a headquarters, so it fills in that business profile, which gives you lots of great information. Among which is that TJ Maxx and Marshalls are both run by the TJX company. So they weren't competitors, they were sister stores. And you'll find that a lot in the business world. For this area, anyone in the medical field, almost everything is medical-wise is under Mercy Health's umbrella. And in the manufacturing world, there's so many times where you get those big umbrellas of companies being related to each other. When Lordstown's GM plant was shutting down, the local news channels did a series of stories where they said that this company's making its last part for the Chevy Cruze, now it's closing. The next day there was this company making its last part, now it's closing. Throughout the month, there was all those video clips of these many companies that were making their last parts for the Chevy Cruze, and then they were closing business. None of them were at the GM Lordstown plant. They were outside companies that were under the umbrella of General Motors and sending their parts to the Lordstown plant to create the Chevy Cruze. So even in the manufacturing, when you're applying for jobs, you want to make certain that you do enough research so you don't make the misstep of saying that you want to work for this company more than this other one when they actually are a sister or brother company. So we've looked at quite a few resources today for all the ones that I've shown you. And if you have any questions about any of the resources I've shown you or any others that you find on the library's website, you can always call us or email us or visit your local library, and we'll help you with how to use those resources. I hope that you all will start using them and gain some great skills to add to your resumes and have successful job searches and are soon hired. Have a great day.